everyone. Welcome to the after show at...
I'm Asian.
I can't even do this. But everyone, welcome. Team Asian. We've got a Takee and a Campea.
Just as normal as ever. A Takee and a Campea. Nothing has changed. Everything's good.
And all we're doing right now is we're going to be recapping season 6, episode 2, Home of Game of Thrones. But in case you happen not to know who we are, I am Corey Takee, and of course with me I've got John Campea.
Hi. Anne's out of the state right now, so I'm filling in for our Game of Thrones.
Wait, you're not Anne?
I am not Anne. I am a Campea. I am often confused for Asian. But no.
We should do the mask thing that they...
Oh yeah, the many known faces. Yes. My penis is way bigger than Anne's.
And
I don't know if she's gonna find that funny or not.
she probably will.
Maybe she will. Yes.
All right, guys. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna break down the episode simply by saying our positives as well as our negatives. So let's start with positives. I'm sure there's plenty.
Oh my gosh. Yes. Okay. First of all, I mean, not to bury the lead, so you go right to it. The Jon Snow is back. And you knew from the moment she had her hands on him.
That he was going to get a haircut?
Well, first of all, he was going to get a haircut because we've seen him in pictures and he's got a haircut. But you also knew one by one they were all going to leave the room. And once the last person left the room, I knew the dire wolf would stir and then the camera would be right on his face. And I knew, be on his face, then you could go... And then it would go to credits. So you knew it was going to happen, and it happened, and it was awesome, and it was great. This show seems really, really determined to make sure that you get the idea that Ramsay Bolton is a son of a bitch.
Oh, gosh.
And wow, they keep finding new ways to make sure you and I know that Ramsay Bolton is a dirty bastard that we are all going to hate and hate and hate. And that was just... brutal.
And this is your positive that you hate him so much.
Yes, it's actually a positive that they make us hate him so much. So that was great. Tyrion Lannister. Look, Peter Dinklage, one of the biggest weaknesses of Game of Thrones, in my opinion, is that Peter Dinklage is not used enough in this show. Yeah. And whenever he comes on screen, he proves it, that he's not used enough. Because that scene with him and the dragons, and that whole line, he was like... I make eunuch jokes, he makes dwarf jokes. I don't make dwarf jokes, you think them. I mean, just that whole thing I found so funny.
Yeah, I mean, I think his dynamic with Varys work really well together.
Oh, it's always worked so
together,
good.
It's so great. And Varys, I like how his facial expression just say it all, you know? He's
always. You know, it's funny because in season 1 and 2, like he's kind of this side character. I mean, he's still a side character, but you think he's villainous and then you realize he's actually noble. And I've just come to get... I find myself now, I get really excited when I see he's in a scene. I get excited, especially his dynamic with Tyrion.
Yeah.
Like, they have such a wonderful dynamic together. I love it. So him being in there was a big plus as well. Man, it was just such a good, solid episode. Yeah. And all this stuff with the Ironborn and stuff like that. So obviously they're setting some stuff up there for later. So all that stuff with the Ironborn this episode was just simply laying the groundwork for bigger drama coming later, but I even love that. Just a great, solid episode. What were some of the things you really liked?
I mean, I liked a lot of things. I think with the Ramsay Bolton part, he's so evil, but it's so evil. It frustrates me that he gets away with everything. He literally just killed his father, who's the king, and
his stepmother. And his brother.
His stepmother and his brother, and he's gonna get away with it.
He's efficient.
It's crazy. I think he's probably hands down the most villainous villain, even worse than Cersei. I want him dead.
Yeah, well, he's even worse. Like, seriously, they have made him more deplorable than King Joffrey.
Yeah.
Like Joffrey, they did a lot to make sure we hated Joffrey, but the stuff they've done with Ramsay is like... next level stuff, like having dogs rip apart a newborn baby. I mean, that's a whole nother level. So all I'm wondering now is who's gonna get him? Like, will it be Reek? Will it be will he be the one ultimately to get him? That would be poetic.
I mean, is Reek gonna become a Greyjoy again?
Well, he's going back, right? Yeah. And now his father's dead, so there's an empty throne. So I'm thinking he may become king.
I thought about that too, because now that we know that the sister might not actually be heir.
Exactly, right.
That he might possibly...
It opens the door, because clearly the king's brother thought, oh, they won't give the throne to her, so it's going to come to me. But if he's got a living son come back, we're going to see King Reek.
Yeah.
I mean, that's possibly. And then, you know, he's going to be like hell to pay on the Boltons kind of thing. This could get very, very interesting.
Yeah, I want someone to bring the Bolton down so
or just Ramsay.
He's
just
awful.
He's terrible.
I mean,
I love it.
He's the worst. I mean, I like, first of all, how the past 2 episodes, they don't go back and forth with storyline. They just went straight like, okay, this is this storyline, and then this one, and then this one, and this one. So it's a lot more easier for us to just kind of compartmentalize.
Yeah. No, they've done that very, very well. They're telling... One of the knocks on Game of Thrones in recent years has been their storytelling tends to get a little lost in the shuffle. And I found they've done a really good job, both in the second half of last season and now in the first couple episodes of this season, of being... There's a definitive pace between when they're jumping from one story to the next story, then back to that story. And it just feels like such a more natural flow. Visually, there's more visual cues on the change of stuff. And I just find it's a lot easier as a viewer to just kind of come along for the ride with it. So it's just a better viewing experience when they do it that way. Yeah,
I completely agree. And there's so many different storylines, and all the things that you said are positives. I'm going to add a couple of things to that. We finally see... Bran Stark return, and that's the big one.
And finally we get to see the dude that Kylo Ren killed. And we've been waiting all year to
Hodor speaking.
Yeah, Hodor speaking. What was his real name? I forget.
Willis.
Yeah, it was like a regular name, like Dan. It was Willis was his name. And so that was really cool. And we've been waiting like an entire year because he wasn't in anything last season. Now we're back. We see the Three-Eyed Crow, and they're setting up some cool stuff. The fact that he got to go back and see his father as a youngster again, and see his aunt. So clearly there's going to be some drama there with the aunt. Like something horrible happened to her. Just so much good stuff to see.
I mean, I feel like they're going to have to make him a really important character, especially since they missed out on him for a whole entire season. And he has like mystical powers going on.
Well, and so much of the previous seasons, obviously not last season, was about him and his journey. And then he gets to that place, and we take an entire year off from him. So you know that this season he's going to play. I have a feeling, much like I think it was last season, I think Jon Snow was like in every single episode. He might have been the only character that was in every single episode, because you had episodes without Tyrion and stuff like that. I have a feeling we're going to see him every single episode this season.
I hope so.
Yeah, me too.
Because we missed out from last season.
Yeah.
And and also Cersei, the mountain.
Oh my god, that scene with the mountain when he comes face to face with the other king's guards, and it's like, we can't let you leave, and then the mountain goes for his sword. You can tell everybody's shitting their pants.
It scares me every time.
We're watching it, and you were saying like, oh my god, the tension, I'm so stressed, I'm so stressed. It's like the stress in that scene when you thought the mountain was just going to kill all these Kingsguards. And then when he goes up the stairs and you see the leader of the Kingsguards just go, it's like, oh my god, that scene was so... I am just waiting for the High Sparrow to come and say, okay, Queen, you've had enough time. You're coming back with us now with like 15 of his little stupid Weasley little guards. Yeah. And then the mountain come out and just rip them all to shreds. Please give me that. I want to see that so bad. I want to see like the mountain just go completely mental on some guys. I think it's going to be awesome.
So are you on Team High Sparrow or Team Cersei? Because they're obviously going to go to war.
Who would have ever thought anybody would ever say, I'm Team Cersei? Like, who would have ever thought? Because she's such a horrible person. But like, this Sparrow dude is like rotten to the core.
But you would have thought so in the first couple seasons.
No, the first while that he was in there, they really made you believe, no, this is just a dude who is about piety and who is truly very humble and who really just wants to bring goodness to everybody. But you're seeing more and more, and finally in tonight's episode, when he's talking to Jaime, and he says, "Yeah, but together we can overthrow an empire." That was the first true exposure of his true agenda that they've ever shown us. So no, I want her to get him.
Really?
I want her to get him, and you know she's gonna get him.
I'm conflicted because I want to see her go down. I hate her so much, but in a good way. But I love Jaime so much. And since he's on her team and since he loves her so much, you want Jaime to win at life.
Look, she's done so many horrible, horrible things, yes. But, like, it's hard, even the worst of people, when they go through the crap that she's had to go through lately. Like, not only did she have to do the whole shame walk, which was
it's painful
horrible
every time.
Then the moment she gets back to the castle, you think, oh, good, no, she can take a breath. Oh, my daughter is dead. The one good thing I've ever done was killed and murdered. I mean, it is hard, even the worst of people. And I find this true in real life. Even the people you dislike the most, when something so terrible happens to them, it's like you stop hating them for a minute and you're like, you feel empathy for them. And they actually got me. Who would have ever thought we'd be feeling empathy for her? And yet I find myself as a viewer really kind of feeling empathy for her and feeling sorry for her and wanting to see her get the High Sparrow. Then once she does that, I'll get back to hating her.
I think you're just a very nice guy.
Maybe I'm just too Canadian, and that's just a big deal.
Because I mean, I want to see her go down. And the
later, I want to see her get him first. Then she can go down.
What do you think of the Arya Stark scene? You know, like, what do you think of that whole storyline? Because it's completely shifted right now.
Yeah, I'll be honest with you. I was fascinated with it in episode 1. I really thought this whole thing about the girl coming back, about, you know, I'll see you tomorrow. And then sure enough, she comes back and fights her. I thought we'd at least see half the season of her going through her trial and tribulation like that. I'm a little surprised they've cut it after just 1.5 episodes. That, okay, you're good. You're no longer a beggar. Come follow me. Now, clearly, she still has more stuff to go through, obviously. But I thought they were going to draw that out a little bit more. So I'm very, very curious to see where they go with that.
Yeah, I see where you're going about drawing it out a little more. But at the same time, we only have 10 episodes.
That's true. Another sucky thing about Game of Thrones.
And they
got to move pretty quick.
Yeah, and they can't fill in every storyline.
Think about it, there's only 8 episodes left.
Yes, there's only 8.
That's stupid.
They can't fill every storyline. Obviously, we didn't get Daenerys this episode.
No, still lots to do there.
Yeah. And I didn't really miss that episode, Daenerys scene that much.
No, I thought they left it off in episode 1 in a very good place to leave it off, and we'll get back to her.
Yeah.
But the scene with the dragons, the scene of Tyrion with the dragons, so cool. It's like, I'm a friend to the dragons. They don't know that.
Yes.
They will. It's
everything about the dragons and his story about how he loved dragons as a kid.
Well, it's funny because, full disclosure, I have not read the books. But with the crowd that we were watching the show with tonight, there were a couple people and they read the books, and they were mentioning that in the books they go into great detail about how he's always been obsessed with dragons, that he's always loved dragons. So I'm sure for them it was a little bit more special to see Tyrion there with the dragons. But awesome scene.
I wonder what the dragons are gonna do.
I don't know. I'm so glad I haven't read the books.
Yeah, I mean, it is kind of odd for me that he unleashed them and then he's scared again and he closes them and back into the gate.
Well, I mean, look, he did what he went there to do, but standing there with those dragons has got to give you pause.
I love how he said, if I have an idea like that again, hit me in the face.
I love I thought he'd say, stop me or throw me in chains. Instead, he's just said, punch me in the face. And I was like, that was perfect.
Yeah. So.
What about negatives? Was there anything about the show you didn't like?
I didn't. I don't know what it is about Cersei's son. What's his name again? The king.
We'll just call him the king.
The king, the wiener. He's such a wuss, and he didn't want to go see his mom because he was embarrassed. I kind of get that.
I get it though. I do get it.
Yeah, but he's the king, and it's just frustrating that he's like that.
He's new to being king. And remember, his brother became king.
His brother was
bad. And so he probably thought he was never going to be king because his brother was like young. I mean, if I ever do become king, it's going to be in like 30 or 40 years. And all of a sudden now he's thrust into being king. And as soon as he becomes king, he's being challenged. These people are taking his mother. They take his wife. And I got like another thing. Bad things are coming to the Sparrow Man because now he's got his mother back with him. Well,
he's definitely just the poster child of his mother's brains.
Yes.
His mother's going to be controlling every move.
Yep.
You know, so I'm not saying the storyline's bad because that I totally understand. I just don't like him. His character frustrates me.
I'll agree with you on that. I'm a little bit frustrated with him so far, but I give it a pass because I feel like we've got some really cool things coming with him. So I'm giving it a pass.
I mean, there's so many more just positives, really. Like the giant at the fight scene, that was awesome.
We were joking about this episode should be called Smashing Face into Rock episode.
Yeah.
Because the giant grabs the guy, smashes his face against the rock. Then the mountain takes that guy, smashes him against the rock. Everything about that whole scene about when the wildlings come back to Castle Black was great, and we got to see the Travelocity guy. What actually? You know how he's like he does all the commercials now for the hotels. Now he's the hotel wizard.
I didn't even think about that.
It's totally funny seeing him back now as the leader of the wildlings again. I forget his name, but I totally think he's badass. He's awesome. So that was look. I'll be honest with you. I've got nothing negative to say about this episode.
Yeah, it's really hard to like really... Well, I guess in a joking manner, my negative would be, why don't people know when they're going to die? It's pretty obvious.
Yeah, stand on the... Well, I think, like, for instance, the Ironborn King standing on the bridge, he knew he was going to die.
Yeah.
So that's why he went for his knife to maybe have a chance.
At least he did that.
But it's like, when Ramsay kills his father, it's like, well, we saw that coming.
It's pretty
Lord
obvious.
Bolton should have seen it coming too, and I guess he's not going to be around anymore.
And the last negative would be that Jon Snow wakes up by himself. Oh, well, he's with his dog, but his direwolf.
I knew they were going to do it. I knew that he was going to take a breath and the credits were going to roll. I knew that was going to happen, and that's what happened. But I was still so mad when it ended because now we got to wait till next week to see everybody seeing Jon Snow is back. Look, we all knew Jon Snow was coming back. Even at the season finale last year when they stabbed him and he bled out, we all knew he was coming back. We didn't know if he was going to be as a White Walker or if it was going to be something else. But he's back. But my one big negative was that I hated the episode ended. That's my negative.
That's my negative is that Jon Snow is alive, but no one knows he's alive yet. For at least for another 6 days, we don't know what's going to happen to him.
Check back next Sunday.
Yeah. Okay. Well, before we go, John, do you have any predictions?
Predictions. Okay. Prediction is that we are going to get King Reek. King Reek.
He has no penis.
King Reek will reign on his throne with no heirs.
But how does he get there? Because his sisters...
They gave him a horse.
Well,
they gave him a horse. He'll figure out a way. He's got a lot of ingenuity there, that King Reek.
Yeah.
So I think we're gonna see King Reek. I don't think the High Sparrow thing's gonna be dragged out to the end of the season. I think we're gonna see the High Sparrow get his comeuppance by episode 4.
Do you think he's gonna die?
I think he's gonna die. I think he's gonna die horribly. So that's my big prediction. Those are my big 2 predictions. What do you think?
Oh man, predictions. I think Jon Snow is not going to be, I said this last episode, but Jon Snow is not going to be Jon Snow. He's going to be some sort of just in no soul. He might not even be able to talk at the time. He's gonna have to retrain him.
Really?
I mean,
that's an interesting theory.
Well, I just think that because a lot of spoilers were, or a lot of the cast were like, oh, he's definitely dead. He's definitely dead. They either could have just been lying, or they're just saying Jon Snow really doesn't exist anymore.
Was dead.
Yeah, that's true.
He wasn't almost dead, like Miracle Max in The Princess Bride. He wasn't mostly dead. He was dead. And now he's back walking around again. And
I wonder, because since Sansa is on her way to go meet him, if he will remember her. Like,
that's
all
a good
these
question.
Kind of
I'm now interested in what does Jon Snow do with the traitors?
Oh.
What is he going to do with the traitors? That's going to be interesting to see.
I'm surprised that they didn't kill him off at the beginning of that battle. I would have just been like,
yeah, I thought it was interesting that they locked him up, but you know they locked him up so Jon Snow can get at him. So we'll see what's going to happen there.
All right. Well, John, thank you so much for stopping over.
My pleasure.
Completely appreciate it. And John, where can people follow you and listen to your podcast and all various things you do?
You guys can follow me on Facebook and on Twitter at John Campea. My podcast, The John Campea Podcast, find on iTunes or any podcasting app that you use. And I have a brand new show launching on the new Comic-Con HQ network next weekend. We're not telling the public the name of the show yet, but that's going to be coming up. Follow me on Facebook and Twitter at John Campea, and I will let that information out in the next day or 2.
All right. And you can follow me at KAORIOUS everywhere, all kinds of social media. And then you can follow the team of Campea and Takee at Team Amazing on Twitter as well as Instagram. And don't forget to thumbs up, subscribe, comment, let us know your predictions and what you thought of this episode. Thanks for joining, and we'll catch you next time.